Oy vey.
Meow.
And now we will get deep into oblivion thanks to Nick.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of the podcast. I think 5th, right?
Yeah.
Well, 6th if we want to count the one that never existed.
There was one that never existed.
Well, I think it's the Voyager
We
one.
recorded one that was recorded one. It never went to editing or post, and therefore it existed yet did not exist. It was phase 2.
That sounds shockingly like Schrodinger's cat's theory.
Well, Sam, if you still have the audio file for that, we may as well just post it with the unediting, no editing.
I don't even know if I have that anymore. That's like 3 years ago.
I'm not sure I want to know if it's even around. I'm not sure if I want to know.
Well, hello. I am Don. With me, I have Saran, I have Satel, I have Ramik, and I cannot pronounce your name for the life of me, but someone from the original podcast.
Mizzou.
In fact, we have the original 3 here, don't we?
Yeah.
No, see, it's not Mizzou, it's Kazoo.
So, yeah.
More like MZU, I think.
Oh, I forgot to start
Master
the
Control Program? No!
Well,
Master Control Unit.
we occasionally talk about Star Trek Online, apparently. But,
Okay, to get us to Star Trek. Boys and ghouls. Star Trek Discovery is coming out soon, and most of us aren't going to have any bloody clue about it because it's behind a paywall. So,
indeed. But, yeah, there's been a major release since we last graced you all in Star Trek Online. With the artifacts and the new mission and such.
Yep. K13 feature episode. Was there something else? I forget. Oh yeah, lighting.
so much happiness. Oh, and the spear? Yes, I'm going to use a spear now. Sphere builder boxes.
How many races in our galaxy use spheres? We have the Borg, we have the Iconians, we have the Solanae, we have
I
the
wouldn't
sphere
call the
builders.
viral sphere probes. That's something that the Iconians would necessarily like.
Those are just a
Yep.
probe.
Yeah.
Oh.
The only spherical ships are in the canon so far really are the Borg spheres, and those are supposed to be a subsidiary ship rather than an actual primary ship. You could go and say the Daedalus, but that was a spherical subhull of the main vessel.
And one of the only Starfleet ships with stairs. No turbo lifts.
Well, actually, technically, the NX class used turbo lifts very rarely. They had ladders for a while as their main system, I think.
Let's not get into Enterprise.
Besides, Daedalus do predate NX.
So how fast could it go? Different topic. So, artifacts. I have no clue what it actually is.
It's a gray card used in Magic the Gathering, which is neither creature nor... Oh, wait.
So, what are artifacts then?
An artifact is an item from another time. So, a cannonball from the 1700s to us is an artifact.
I doubt
Hence
we
the
found a
K13
cannonball
station.
on 20 Dracona.
We found a space station instead, with the crew preserved, like a cannon union sung.
That is true. He's not wrong about that.
But I doubt they're all superhumans, or Klingons, or whatever race they were.
It's a Klingot.
Klingot?
A Klingon.
Come on, I have to make my occasional Enterprise joke. Anywho,
Yep.
Well, you know, they are very clingy to their name.
So yes,
Oh, you went there.
the idea behind artifacts is the fact that we have a space station, and the crew technically are artifacts as well. Though usually you don't refer to living creatures as artifacts. They would
Except for you.
be.
Oh, you beat me to it.
Knowing that Ramek was born before the founding of the Federation, apparently.
Yes, according to his bio. Oh, let me turn this damn thing down so I'm not getting double vision here.
Double vision? What are you turning down?
The speakers on the monitor, so that I'm only using the earphones, because otherwise I'm getting it through 2 ears.
How is that double vision? Isn't that double hearing?
I plead the fifth.
I'm not American, so I have no clue what you're talking about.
The Fifth Amendment, the right not to give self-incriminating testimony or evidence.
The way he says that, are you an AI or something?
No, I am not an artificial intelligence. I know
It's been
nothing of the
debated
blue
before.
English
I am
map.
not programmed to make that qualified judgment.
I know nothing of the blue fairy. Oh, come on. Please tell me one of you guys got that.
Nope.
Nope.
Zelda?
Oh, the movie AI.
Never seen it.
I think it's cute how you always think that we'll know these things.
I keep forgetting that not only in game, but in life, I am ancient compared to all of you whippersnappers. And I was reminded of that repeatedly at school today, where I was talking to people who this would be their first time voting in an American election, as opposed to their fourth.
This would be my third. So I'm about
Woohoo!
halfway between you and the rest of the podcast.
So
Yeah, let's
is,
put it this way. I still remember the Chocolate City.
so is
Chocolate?
artifacts nothing but K17? That's 17. K13?
Well, we got the graphics quality improvement, so there's new lighting throughout the entire game. We have the new
Which is
fleet-
why it's giving me so much trouble.
Well, you run a brick for a computer, Ramek. I don't think you're even able to run the new graphics.
No,
computer
my
can
phone
run
is a
the
brick.
graphics.
This is
My
a stone
computer-
tablet.
They're both very hard. So anyway, we have the new K13 fleet holding. We have our new featured episode, Echoes of Light, and the kit modules have been revamped as well.
Though a couple of folks like me have seen some of their modules go poof and not reappear.
That should be fixed now. I remember in the last patch notes last week that they fixed a lot of that.
I saw, but I never got my flamethrower back.
From my experience, you just had to beam down somewhere, then beam back up, and you get the kit in your inventory.
Yeah, it wasn't as simple as that. Like, you could beam up and beam down, and it didn't happen. Like, if you did like 5 or 6 more times, it would most likely happen then. But for some people, especially ones who had like the Romulan embassy kits, that still didn't work. I haven't checked lately, but there's a null item in my inventory right now that I cannot move. So unless they fix that,
happened to me last time.
yeah.
Then again, I don't seem to have the null item either, so it might just be that it doesn't like me.
Hoover, run away!
But hey, you can upgrade kit modules now and kits, so I'm not
Yes.
complaining.
Nor am I. Besides, I'll just sneak into your embassy at one point and in the middle of the night steal another one.
I mean, hey, I can set people on fire with the Mark 14 weapons now, so.
Meanwhile, I have people drooling over that Mark 14 epic sword.
Drooling on it, are they?
Somebody will buy it eventually. Well, yes, you see, you drool on it, it's lubricated, then when you shave with it,
You're a cat. You're covered in fur for a reason.
yes, but if you've ever gone and held the Shattering Harmonic sword and crouched while you've got it in deploy mode, it sort of cuts through your jugular. And half your neck.
Tips from Ramek. Cut your head off with a sword. Or try to anyway, as he's still here. You know, speaking of the new mission, Ramek, I just wanted to ask you a question.
Nearly headless neck.
Given the Prime Directive with temporal and interference with previous civilizations, how many directives does the new mission break?
Oof. You're going to have me going and pulling up the entire list of directives, aren't you? I've got that on here somewhere. And no, I'm not joking. Technically, the Prime Directive, first off, because they've interfered with the native culture. Of course, we don't know what set off the proto-matter. We don't know how they came into contact with the natives. In fact, we don't necessarily know that those 3 pictured people were actually the 3 that came down from the station. For all we know, those could be descendants of them. All we know is there's a picture with 3 people in Starfleet uniforms, and that the logo, which technically wouldn't have been appropriate for them because that was actually the Enterprise's logo, not Starfleet itself's logo, shows up in the temple. So it could be they found these uniforms, for all we know, off corpses.
Interesting.
Hey, devil's advocate, what can I do?
And then, what are your opinion on how they handled the situation when they find themselves back in time like that?
Pretty good, though. Of course, you run into this problem of how do they know how much? They said they've only got enough power for so many stasis pods. Okay, that's impossible without knowing you're going to have a constant intake of energy of a certain level. And if you don't have a constant intake of energy from an external source, how long is your power supply going to last? Because, it's one of those things where they kind of just gloss over that there's no free energy in the universe.
You ever heard of solar panels?
Yes, I have. Are they in evidence on the ship? I mean, on the station?
I don't know. I didn't build it.
Maybe it's absorbed through the hull plating or something.
Solar panels also require cleaning in order to operate at full efficiency for the duration. That's why you end up with, the Mars rovers technically should still be working. There's dust on the panels.
Apart from the one they sent that had an atomic reactor for an... no, wrong word. That had an atomic reactor on its back.
Did they actually send that?
Yes, there's one that has no solar panels. It has this... I've seen it in Kerbal Space Program before. It's this round cylinder with things coming off it.
Wasn't the
Okay,
Viking
round
mission?
cylinder? What?
Wasn't the Viking mission nuclear powered?
I don't think so. Most of the early stuff was solar panels because if I recall correctly, there's some pretty strong treaties about putting anything nuclear in orbit or above that.
We nuked Jupiter once. We could have ignited it.
Yeah, well, they self-destructed in order not to go and just contaminate it with potentially microbes from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The things you can learn about space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of Starship wandering thought patterns. Imagine, if you will.
So, anyone else have any thoughts on the newest expansion?
I like the mission. It was pretty good, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with the Zen Cafe. And of course, I have my notes all the way on the other desk, where they are actually described in the novels. It'll be interesting to see if they keep to that description when they show them, or if they do something completely different.
Sorry, I heard you say Zen Cafe.
Yeah, Zen Cafe, they were mentioned in,
Oh, those big squid people?
No, those would be Mon Calamari, wrong universe.
Could be the Quarren, but,
Also wrong universe.
yeah. Do you mean the big, space electric squid thingies that turn green when you hailed them?
nope.
No, those are
Those things were in the episodes.
Those are Farpoint aliens, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, if you actually look on the Alpha Quadrant map, there is a Zenkathi homeworld. So they're sort of technically already in game, but you don't.
Species.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, I was thinking of something completely different.
And now something completely different. The thought process.
Yeah, the Zen Cafe were mentioned in a couple of episodes The Adversary, and Paradise Lost. In the books, let's see.
While he cycles through looking for that, just remember, right now we're fighting the creature that refers to us as ugly bags of mostly water.
No, that was something
Huh?
completely different.
Are you sure? I could swear they translated the thing from the crystalline entity one time as ugly bags of mostly water.
No,
I thought that was
Reminds
a
me-
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Reminds me of HK from Star Wars.
Great, now I need to go
Meatbags.
find that quote.
Yeah, we're not really talking about Star Trek at all, are we? We should be talking about Star Trek.
Well, I'm trying to find out where
Try
that quote's
harder.
from. I cannot do it, Captain. I
Harder,
only have
Nick.
2
Harder,
hands.
harder. That sounds really bad.
Let's see. Oh, okay, found it. Let's see. You are from... This is not what I care about. I don't want to know about that. Go away.
So, Ramek, tell us what crystalline entities tell you. Do you see the crystalline entity now?
Well, hang on. I'm pulling up the bad thing. Let's see.
You're pulling up a bad thing? What are you pulling on?
Don't answer that. Please do not answer that.
Okay, guys. I stand corrected. I pulled up the quote. The actual quote comes from the episode Home Soil of Next Generation, and it's some little weird thing in a glass jar. It looks like in the med bay.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I sit corrected.
So, what did the glass jar tell you? Do you see the glass jar now?
The glass jar said to stop putting snowflakes in it and shaking it.
Oh. Were you putting snowflakes in it?
Oh, for the love of Pete. A snow globe. I referred to a snow globe. Oh.
I love teasing people.
You're gonna make me say things you're gonna have me regretting.
Okay, to attempt to get us back on track, let us answer one of our fan questions that I collected. Now, they're both from Something Soul. I definitely apologize for not saying your name right.
Lux?
Let's go with that, Lux Soul. One of them, which I think is most interesting at the moment, is the the subtle increase in starships that have carrier capabilities.
Well, that's actually something we've mentioned in a previous episode, I think. There's 2 schools of thought about effectively naval warfare. There's the battleship model and there's the carrier model. In the early days, Star Trek had such a small budget that they had to use the battleship model. You've got your one big ship. The carrier model is the one Star Wars uses. It's all about fighters. And that is actually the more effective system, as we see in our current modern day. Now that there's the budget, the more realistic system of the carrier model, which they sort of started to do with shuttlecraft and so on, is becoming evident in the game.
Yeah, and I have to agree. Being a huge Galactica fan, I do like I just wish there were a few more of them, to be honest.
Are you alive?
I know that on many of the forums and Reddit that carriers are something that a lot of people have been asking for, along with science ships as well. They're kind of like the 2 fan favorites sort of things, even though they're not usually the most practical things out there too.
I love my science ship.
Well, science ships and carriers both end up with a support role. A carrier has sort of the worst capabilities of a cruiser and a science ship. It's limited offensive capability usually, it's slow and bulky, but at the same time it has the integral support. Like I like the Aatrox simply because it's a Caitian ship.
I wish
And there's something nice about having 12 fighters wandering around me.
the T6 carrier was the Aatrox, not that Jupiter thingy.
Well, what you gonna do?
I've got a
Complain.
follow-up question. I've got a follow-up question to that because I don't actually play carriers and that. But what would be better, a carrier or a dreadnought cruiser with hangars?
I'd say Dreadnought.
Ooh, the dreadnoughts usually are a hell of a lot more sturdy. I have no dreadnoughts at all, but I looked at the stats for the Voth dreadnought, and I compared it to the Bastion that I currently fly, and mine's a flight deck cruiser, so it has a hangar bay, and I've noticed that it's fairly powerful, but it doesn't stack up as well to certain other cruisers. You give up something for that carrier capacity.
Yeah, one of my characters flies a similar ship to you, Ramik, the T6 heavy escort carrier.
I've got one of those I don't know if it's the T6. I think it's the T5U Armitage I've got.
I have all of them. I love the point defense. I can lay down so much firepower. Might not do as much damage as other people, but...
Okay, I have another follow-up question. What do you think of the idea of upgrading Galaxy and Sovereign class ships to have carrier capabilities?
I think we get that with the Galaxy X already.
Hit or miss. I'm all for each ship having a single carrier bay. The Enterprise D had 3 different shuttlecraft bays. So it makes some sense to have one carrier bay capacity on it. Ships designed integrally to be more carrier model should have maybe 3. With the idea here being you have one bay specifically carries a shuttlecraft or support class, and the other 2 could be fighters.
Interesting. Speaking of the Sovereign, Saran, didn't you say that there was a potential T6 assault cruiser coming?
That's right. At the launch of Artifacts, if you were quick enough, anyone who had the ability to reclaim the Tier 5 assault cruiser was that reclaim was a bit glitched, and Cryptic accidentally released their upcoming Intel Tier 6 assault cruiser.
Well, shoot.
With it comes an additional console that is now a 2-part bonus for the Metreon gas canisters.
Do we know what the bonus is?
I remember that. What's their name? Loot Critter. They're another podcaster forum area person or thing. They did a full cover on it that you can find on Reddit somewhere. But yeah, we know all the details. But most likely, it's very heavily going to change. The Universal Console itself didn't even have an icon. It was just a white box. There's no special model for the carrier yet. It's just a regular assault cruiser. So it's still very heavily in development. I doubt we're going to see it for another 3 months, probably.
Well, it's also possible that what they're doing is that that ship everybody was voting on will actually be what that ship is.
I very much doubt that, just because the current, hot topic right now are temporal abilities. And we don't really have any free ships right now that have temporal abilities. Like, if you've noticed with any of the anniversary events, the winter events, the summer events, anything, the ship we get has always been Tier 6 the last year or so, and they've always been focusing on the specialization that is popular at the time. Like, I think the Breen one was Intel. Then we got our Cabali command cruiser.
What did the Vargon have?
Vorgon had, I think it was a mix of command and intel. I'd have to check back on that. Or maybe it was pilot. The Ferengi ship from the summer event was also pilot. So I'd suspect that the next one's definitely going to be temporal.
Speaking of Ferengi ships, did you hear the controversy about people who were subscribed to the Star Trek newsletter and had spent enough money on the game, got a golden Ferengi ship?
Yes, that was
get it if you're on the newsletter.
That was, and it wasn't. You didn't have to be subscribed to the newsletter. There's no particular one thing that was evident that you had to do or pay for to get that ship. It was only given out to hand-selected players that had, quote-unquote, greatly contributed to the success of the game. So that would most likely be anyone who's paid probably over about $5,000 over the course of the beta since now.
Hoy.
Like, I'm just pulling that out of my hat. I'm not saying that's the amount by any means, but it's a lot that anyone had to pay to even get close to getting that ship.
And what they got in the end was a gold-plated ship designed for small people who apparently had a law where women couldn't wear clothes until recently.
Thank you, Rom.
It's gold ships, though, so...
Yeah, gold-pressed platinum-plated hull.
No,
It's genuine gold paint.
See, what you need to go and name it is the Snitch.
Actually, I have a screenshot of one of them somewhere. Let me see if I can find that, because it had a funny name.
Okay.
In the meantime, what other topics do we have up here? Were there any follow-up questions to the follow-up question of the follow-up question?
Give us your trivia, Mick.
Oh, crud. I don't even remember what the heck last month's trivia was, because I kind of got cut out toward the end with life.
As I recall, it was dinner.
It was about the three-breasted Catwoman, I think, and what the actual Pharisans are considered as.
Yeah, I sort of vaguely recall that. Okay, well, what do you want trivia on? Because if we're pulling everything out of the culture doc, remember, most of that's coming right out of my head, not actually, like, canon. And that caused, so much consternation early on.
What was the name of the ship that initiated first contact with the Caitians? That will be our trivia question.
Oh, I know this one.
I even remember writing that, and I can't remember the answer. Shoot.
So,
Okay, that one actually is drawn from canon sources, though, if I remember correctly.
So don't actually say the name. The name of the actual ship is what they're supposed to find and tell us. But let's talk about this event, because I very much like the fact that the captain apparently had catnip on his shirt, which the Caitian delegates found very distracting.
If I recall correctly, I made that last part up.
Oh.
And actually, I'm going to make life a little bit interesting for you guys in 1 second. This one. Okay. Get shareable link.
3,
and, okay.
4,
over there in the
5.
is a link to a book.
Nice. Saran, could you note that down to put in the patch notes? The patch notes.
What the heck are patch lights?
Those would be the little lights that we patch holes with.
The show description.
Yeah.
So
all right, now
can see that book.
Well, here's the thing: is that I don't have authorization to release. Okay. Anyway, well, that's a scan that's not really supposed to be distributed, but I figured I'd show it in here. So it'd be nice if they can only get it by looking at the link in the thing and whatever. Let's see if I can pull up the right page, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't make... Okay, here we go. They're going to want to look at page 37.
Okay, 37 then.
Not a whole lot on it. This book was actually supposed to be information on the different worlds in the Federation, and it gives you the join date and join order. So in this case, Cait, which is the local name they think they listed as Pharisa, which is 15 Lyconis, was the 12th world to enter the Federation.
12th.
Mm-hmm. And there's literally only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs and 2 pictures before you go on to the next world.
Good thing you're here to write down all our canon.
Wait, I'm supposed to stuff somebody in a cannon again? Why did no one tell me this? All right, well, and because we're going to be nice to everybody, we'll get the... Whoops, wrong button. we will go and put in here a link for the culture document.
Well, if we're doing trivia, it should be there in there anyway.
It is, but there's the link, so if they don't already have the link...
The link should be in the description.
And I would hope so. Remembering that the indexing is failed and this thing needs huge amounts of work to go and get it back to normal, which I have yet to do much of.
So everyone, if you see Mick online, poke him. Tell him to do the culture doc.
And be afraid that he will bite your finger off.
Or Mick, go do the culture doc.
Freaking Trixie Fish Abysses, always bothering her mix there. It does, precious.
Ramek always reminds me of a mix of a Khajiit, Yoda, and some grey-looking, large-eyed alien thingy.
That is an accurate description.
But I have no clue what the
Especially
thing
given
is.
especially considering at one point we actually had a Yoda in STO on ESD that I literally sat down across from and out Yoda'd Yoda.
Really?
Ramek had out Yoda'd Yoda.
He's lovely.
Ah, Hoover, comes away!
Hide!
Okay, quick question. Are they able to see the group chat on the
No.
stream or no?
No.
They're not? Okay, in that case...
Okay, so we do have a second question from our friend. It's more of a fashion question, actually. What are your lot's thoughts on the current Caitian customization options?
Wow, this thing really doesn't let me type very much, does it?
I think it would be nice if we had a few more like hairstyle options, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. Or maybe like a different tail option too. That would be nice.
Well, they do give us the cropped tail.
Yeah, but I mean more like a fluffy one kind of thing, you know? Like the closest thing we have is the shaggy one, and that just looks kind of weird.
Reggie.
I'd like to see more markings, sort of like snow leopard, tiger, that sort of thing.
Okay, that came up really weird in the thing, but there's your answer. Pull directly from the doc.
How much did you... Oh, my word.
He's
What, did you
industrious.
just type the entire doc in here?
No, that's one paragraph.
He's an industrious little kitty cat.
I copy-paste one paragraph from the document.
Do you think Caitians and Pharasans should have the ability to have a mane?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Given
I'm
that
actually
the
kind of
females
against that.
Well, I'm of two minds because the mane was shown on Maress in the animated series.
Yes, but at the same time, she was a female.
Correct. But the couple of Caitians we've seen as background characters in the movies did not have the manes. So the only females we've seen, if we want to count the ones in the J.J. Abrams remake as
Oh,
Caitians,
please don't count those.
No.
No.
They
have
have Nikos.
No.
and the three-breasted Catwoman in Star Trek V,
Hell no.
who was apparently referred to in the script as a Kzinti, so that's fudge. If we look at only those examples we know of, the females do have manes, the males do not. If you look also at that Worlds of the Federation book, they do picture a mane on the character.
What about
except,
red legs?
There were a
Yes.
couple of Caitians in the Federation Council in Star Trek 4. And
Yep.
one, I believe, was male, the other was female, and neither had a mane.
I was under the impression they were both male, and I agree that neither of them had manes, but whatever.
Are we speaking of the ones in the movie?
Yes.
Yes, both of them were male.
How you know, Ramek?
Because I was there.
Mick. Ah! How do you know, Saran?
I've seen them on the wiki.
How do you know they were male under all that fur?
Well, I saw a noticeable lack of boobs, so I'm pretty sure.
Well, see, and this goes and harkens to something that gave us a lot of problems in the fleet. When I was describing Caitians, I did keep the digigrade legs, but I actually was describing them as effectively androgynous to humans, as in they more or less have the same body structure, with the women not developing breasts until they're pregnant, for example. That went over not so well with some of our fleet members.
Well, I have to be honest. I actually like the idea because that's a lot more like real world cats.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I think that there was a slightly increased chest match, and that they had some slight differences in hip and waist ratios, but that they would be more or less androgynous at a glance. However, that they did have different fur patternings. Great, I'm gonna have to look that up now, aren't I? Dang it!
What about the facts on them having human-like legs in the game? Because I know they could get digitigrade legs because we've seen it from Champions. And I did actually just suggest that when I was trying to get them to be added in Agency yesterday, which completely got overwhelmed with other people talking but didn't really do anything. And apparently they thought it would be too much like Champions Online to add it.
But then they went and added the pounce from Champions Online anyway.
Yeah.
I'd like to just point out from a game development standpoint, that would include an exorbitant amount of extra work for every single uniform they release.
Yeah, because they would have to create, well, not necessarily every uniform, but for all pants and boots. Or they could just be smart and not allow boots at all.
Well, yeah, they could get rid of the boots option, but for every pants option, you'd have to make every uniform twice, essentially.
Why not skirts only? Yeah. But then how'd that work for the males?
Because, well, and the problem you run into is that with the digigrade leg system, they also would have a more bobbing gait. They would actually bounce up and down more. So technically, they would also have to define the physics of the characters. If they're, granted, I'm assuming that they'd actually do it fairly realistically, the physical motion of the creature would be higher and lower. They would have basically a bobbing, and it would be somewhat bizarre to watch.
You know, that's another thing as well. It would require an entirely different animation set for every character as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that could mess with a whole other bunch of systems, with weapons that you carry, with just effects in general, with any seat that you sit on your bridge. Like that would actually break a lot of things.
Playing devil's advocate and that, you've already got that system with the Undying. They use retrograde legs, so why couldn't they just copy and paste that?
Just from speaking,
they're also three-legged.
Speaking from a point that, since I've worked in the Foundry a little bit, the Undying do not have a lot of animations. Like, you could tell an Undying NPC to do certain motions or something, and they'll just stand there because that animation does not exist for that specific rig. In fact, if you go into the Foundry, there's actually a number of animations that specifically say Undying only. So, despite the fact that they are in the game and do in fact have those types of legs, there's no way you could translate the animations over by any sense of the word that easily.
Oh, well.
Okay, do we want me to actually read off the physical overview thing that I wrote in the culture doc now they finally found the paragraph or two?
Make them read it. Don't read it for them.
Well, no, that's not the answer to your trivia question.
What was the question again?
What was the name of the starship which initiated first contact with the Caitian species? And I sent you guys already the answer in that paragraph that stretched on for infinity.
You did?
Oh, we were supposed to read that?
Look on the right-hand side of your screen, scroll up, and at 6:25 p.m. my time, it says, in 2224, the Federation starship at
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Linkaglev. Remembering this was also written around 3 or 4 years ago, and I have not touched it since in many cases. Now, back to the original question. It would be great if they could make the digigrade legs, if they could give us more options with the Caitians. The problem is you have only effectively 2 species that would work with at all. The Pharosan and the Caitian. And that's a large investment of work for a minimal return in a sense, because those are only $6 species and that's unlocked for good for the entire account.
It's true. I mean, we're all partial to Caitians here, obviously. But the fact of the matter is, our species is not exactly the #1 species in the entire game. It's not going to be what brings in a lot of, profit by any means. And I don't mean that from any nasty sense of the word or anything to blame Cryptic for that. But I mean, they are a company. They need to make sure that they make smart business decisions that will affect everyone.
We're not loved.
I thought I told Putty Tat. I did see a Putty Tat.
Okay, I have a follow-up question.
Go for it.
What races, canon and or non-canon, would you like to see in the game?
Canon and or non-canon?
Well,
I don't want to get into the non-canon ones. That's way too freaky.
There's some good ones in non-canon.
There's also some really disturbing ones.
I would prefer some more that don't strictly look human.
Agreed. Hey, how would you like to be able to play as a Horda?
Wasn't that a joke once?
Yeah, that was a joke during an April Fool's thing one time, I think. That they were adding Hordas as playable species.
I read that article one time and didn't realize it was an April Fool's Day joke when I read it.
You can get turned into a halter, can't you, if you annoy Q at the window?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Yep.
No.
If I had to choose like what species, I would say the 2 species I'd like to see, maybe not playable, but just more of in STO but definitely be the Ocampans. And I would like to actually to see like the variations of the Gorn that were in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek game that came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, those actually have tails.
But like not as playable characters, just NPCs or something. That would be kind of cool to have them in another mission or something, because those guys actually did look really cool for monsters.
Here's one for you: the Binar.
The who?
Yes, they're sort of the Borg before the Borg.
Yes and no. The Binar basically were cyborgs in a sense, and they would talk to each other in binary. The thing was, they had to work as a pair. They couldn't work alone. They were supposed to be the best computer programmers in the Federation. So literally, you'd play 2 characters as one, or have an NPC set. You beam down security, and you end up with a pair of Binar.
Hey, dude.
And to answer the question that was just put in there, yeah, he got to it first. Never mind.
So, anything else?
Let's see. Yep, here we are. Come to you in a moment when I get the right screen again. Bink. For the wins.
Any other species?
What about you?
Well, I was going to say I'd like to see a Cardassian uniform added.
What about a Cardassian playable race? Because I know you can make them in the Alien Character Creator, but no special traits.
They've said that we're going to be getting other expansions in the future. The first one was Romulus, obviously, Romulus, and then we have Agents of Yesterday. I believe it was Riviera a long time ago said there's going to be 3 expansions, so technically we only have 1 left. And that I'd guess that's probably going to be, Gamma Quadrant kind of stuff at that point.
Yeah,
Because that's really the only avenue that they haven't explored yet.
Yeah, and they've been talking about a revamp of the DS9 map for ages.
Yeah,
well.
that's going to get about as pushed off as Club 47 was, though.
But when it finally came about, hey, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and now absolutely no one is there 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I go there every once in a while just to have Mick hang around and watch all the young'uns. That sounded much creepier than it did in my head.
It does.
Yep.
It really did.
A grizzly old Caitian watching all the young people frolic around and dance.
Oh, jeez.
Oh God, he's Caitian Trump. I have to.
No.
I could really make a yeah. I can make a comment there, but I really won't.
Just for that, I'm going to have Russia go and hack your warp core so it explodes. Space Russians.
So you're threatening to make someone's warp core explode, but you threaten me with nair gas in my ventilation system.
You didn't call me Trump.
No, you're just an old cat.
Cat scratch fever. Oh, great. You got 80 songs stuck in my head. Thank you for that. Just for that. Oh, well, and never was there ever a cat so clever as mystical Mr. Remixicles. Okay, that's hard to do in real time. And yes, that was from Cat.
I am the very model of a scientific Caitian.
I am the very model of a modern Caitian captain. I don't even know the right words for people to solve it. Never mind.
I am the very model of a modern major general.
Yeah.
I have information, vegetable, animal, and mineral.
Mineral.
I know the kings of
Something
England
rather-
and can quote the facts historical from Marathon to Waterloo in order categorical.
You realize that's going to be the next thing that Mick goes and starts singing, right?
In biolore and theorem, I'm teaming with a lot of news and many cheerful facts of the square root of the hypotheses.
Hypotheses? Speaking thing of turn me into lesser.
I did try doing my own about scientific Caitian, but it didn't really work. Doesn't rhyme.
Well, let's get back to topic because we're running toward the time. Speaking of which, I can go as long as we feel like. Anyway, the other, there was another comment somebody had earlier, I think. There was another question somebody had.
Actually, if there are still people watching in, because we did post this out live, and apparently we've had people watching, if I can find the link to that, we can actually see, where's the actual link gone? Well, if there's not many people in there, we can't really ask them if they want to ask a question.
Apparently we only have one viewer right now.
Oh well.
That poor deluded fool. Oh wait, is that my tablet watching? Bad tablet. Bad.
I was going to say it was a 100% increase on last time.
Actually, technically it's an infinite increase because from 0 to 1 is infinite. 100% of 0 is just 100. It's just 0. I mean, don't.
Not a number. Warning, not a number.
1 is the loneliest number that there ever was. Right. I'm actually quite happy that we finally have the K-13 station. I'll be even more happy when I can actually go on board the bloody thing.
Yes, well, that's going to be another couple weeks.
Yeah, that's annoying. Because
It's probably a trip down memory lane for you, isn't it, Ramek?
quite. That's why, if you guys remember in our forum, I pitched the idea for a roleplay setting based around that station, which was quickly shut down by our friends the Trolls.
Which, for some reason, we have not ignored.
Yeah, well, I don't know how to put the ignore on the forum.
It's called Don't Look.
Don't look, don't tell? What?
Don't look,
Isn't
don't
that what we're supposed to do in Narot? Don't look, don't narrate.
Yeah, same principle, really.
But once we have access to that station, I think that would be a great place to do some role plays like the one I talked about, because it's a good frontier location or a back-in-time location that's easy to work with without having to go and mess with the Foundry, which I tried looking at once and just went, buh.
Yeah, I looked around the Foundry on thinking of a place where I could do a new studio for this podcast, but I think this is better because no need for editing and such. With our no editing policy.
Well, what happened with the old one is what we did is we pre-recorded huge amounts of material, just animations and so on. And then, pardon,
Good one.
the reason we had a lot of those cuts was because he would cut from the recently made material to the stock material all over the place.
I have a picture of that on my Twitter. It's a scary sight.
Poor Saran. We work him to death.
And one of the things we found was that when we did it in the game, if your mic was live, your character actually was talking. You actually had your mouth moving.
Yeah, I do know that feature's there, but I've never actually seen it used.
Well, go look at one of the old podcasts. We actually did have our characters' mouths moving. Not in all the stock ones, because we weren't actually speaking. We were just telling it to make gestures. But a lot of times, yeah, we were talking. Or should I say, we were meow, 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 meow.
Oh, I guess I have to try that one day.
But anyway,
You've been recorded.
one of the things I've seen we have trouble with in the game, and this is standard for every game, is you end up with a power creep issue. Everything has to get more powerful. It has to get bigger and better. That's one reason why when I suggested the role-playing environment, if you look at it, I actually put together a list of what I suggested were the ships available. They're old. Granted, that because the system's set up the way it is, you could have tier 5 ships. Like the Excelsior class is, I believe, a T5U, if you get the nice shiny one. But they were meant to be older ships that would have been mothballed and just hauled back out to give over to scientists and colonists. You got to let them defend themselves if we're on the frontier.
There is a T6 Excelsior.
Yeah, I know. I just don't have it. Because the last time I bought a ship, it was before the T6 existed.
You have no
Now
T6
most of the-
vessels?
I have 2 or 3 T6s, but they're all free ones or ones I got from events. Because so much of my Zen goes into keys so I can open lock boxes so I can have all the nice little fun toys for you guys that no one ever buys.
I was meaning to try and get an outfit off you, but... Oh, that sounded bad. That sounded very bad.
I still have enough Lobby to get you that too.
Just need to get the exchange... Well, an exchange for it.
Yeah, that's always the critical factor. And since we have viewers who are watching, if you join Caitian Star Pride or one of the other's fleets that's underneath it, I serve as effectively the quartermaster, and I will sell you basically anything that I've stockpiled, from the around 2,000 units of contraband to some tier 6 ships, and even some Ferengi slug cola. But I sell all the stuff or give it away at a discount, basically as just a, hey, thanks for being part of the fleet. So I also take goods in trade.
So Starfleet Intelligence and Starfleet Security will have a field day in our bank, is what you're saying.
No, they will have a field day in the Two Fleas cargo holds, should they ever be able to find which one I've hidden it in. Remember, Mick probably works for Intel.
Probably.
Maybe. After all, just look at Saran's mission. And what did we say about the Two Flea when you scan it?
Huh?
I don't remember. It's been like 2 years since I made that.
That it had an unusually large power signature?
For a freighter of that size and class.
Yeah.
No ship that size can have a cloaking device.
nothing even remotely suspicious about that ship.
You know, Saran,
Well,
Saran, you should really do some more things like that.
You mean for in the Foundry?
Yes. Like,
Oh,
why
I-
not
I
do one
intend-
of just our like, if you do one and then do a little Easter egg where it's all our characters right now sitting around the table talking to each other.
Oh, I intend to
Actually,
do
like
we
little
have
that.
something
quotes
like
from
that.
the podcast. Actually, do like little quotes from the podcast.
Well, here's another thing that you guys can do. When I told you guys about the role-playing idea, I actually still have links to the old Space Doc ship designing files. Anybody that wants to get in touch with me for them, or for links to them anyway, can go and get in touch with Remick at FEYRAL Wolf in the game, and I'll give them links to them. Because that's what I actually used originally when we were doing the whole big power signature. I designed from scratch what that ship should be within existing design parameters.
I think we're losing him.
No, that's just him playing the drums. I don't want to work. I just want to bang on me drum all day.
Okay, I think we're slipping into insanity, so we may have to say goodbye.
Hello,
As we-
hello.
Yeah,
hello.
we're definitely going to the insanity side now. So
We've
You're
almost
surprised by
recorded
that
an
line?
hour. This is probably going to be the longest podcast we've done.
it already is.
One.
Meow, meow, meow.
Well, we can. If somebody still has topics, we can actually, have topical stuff.
What do you think's coming in the future? Your predictions to the new story arc.
I left my crystal ball at home.
Okay.
Not that I am at home. It's weird to say, but hey.
Shall we say goodbye then?
But you say goodbye, and I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello.
I think that's the closest we're going to get for him.
So, yes, you've been listening to the Caitian Star the Caitian Star Pride podcast, which is a Caitian Star Pride production. I still want to get a line of remix saying that so we can record it. And
Okay, hang on then. You have been listening to Caitian Star Pride production in Soviet Catia podcast you.
Oh dear. Anyway, I will eventually, when we plan to do this again, I'll be combing the chat for any potential topics and such.
Yes, people, please do send us quotes, suggestions, topics you'd like us to cover. We may not get to them. We may never even acknowledge the existence thereof. But hey, who knows? We might discuss your topic, and if we get it early enough, we might even do research.
Also, on a side note
Research.
here, I was actually thinking I should really discuss this now. The idea that whoever can reply to Remick first about the trivia, we might invite them to be on the show once as a guest.
And we can actually go and reinitialize the old reward program. What we
No,
did
I
for the
have
old
been-
podcast was you had 1 week to respond. The best answer got the biggest prize. And, maybe it was just a couple of tech modules. But
You know, I
Hey,
have.
I've got
I
stuff to
did
send.
actually try looking at my local EB Games, and they don't sell Perfect World cards anymore. I was going to offer someone 1,000 Zen if they replied to you with the trivia answer.
I think they stopped doing that because there was actually a hacking issue where somebody unlocked like thousands of them, and then you'd get bogus ones after you spent real more money on them.
So maybe they've just cleared the line and are printing new ones.
Could be. But anyway, yes, please, people, go and give us ideas. We'll come up with something, and if we get it early enough, like I said, we'll do real research. We'll actually give you factual answers instead of just whatever the hell we can pull out of our fur.
But anyway, we shall depart and say goodbye, you four. I've already said goodbye.
Goodbye. you
Goodbye,
two.
goodbye, goodbye,
It's been fun.
goodbye.
It's been fun.
Meow.
Heisey Hensig on the way.
End it.